that's the side that most people don't see. I think most people online and even his supporters, nakikita nila numbers, statistics eh. But if you come to realize that when you talk about extrajudicial killings, you're not just talking about numbers, you're talking about real people who died without due process. And also, ang impact kasi ng extrajudicial killing, hindi lang dun sa actual na victim, but yung impact ng extrajudicial killings is yung pamilyang naapektuhan. Diba? Can you imagine, every time you kill a breadwinner, you kill the entire family? Diba? Sometimes
Or the
women,
community, basically.
even to the point of prostituting themselves para may mapakain sa anak, merong mga bata na tigil agad sa pag-aaral. And one of the last cases that I have handled actually, um, pinatay yung mismong tatay sa harap ng nanay at saka dalawang minor na anak, maliliit na bata. And I talked to them almost 6 months after the incident, and hindi pa nakakapagsalita yung mga bata because of the trauma of
Intergenerational trauma.
yung trauma na patayin yung tatay mo sa harap mo, and then yung utak ng tatay mo nag-splatter dun sa mga bata mismo. I mean that's something na I cannot help but in a way nagiging personal rin, yung very personal for me yung usapin na to. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and in fact I was so traumatized that I left the 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 work actually and went back to my regular practice because sabi ko yung emotional side na to is too much for me. Ayaw ko na umuwi sa bahay na ang bigat ng pakiramdam, and yung feeling of helplessness is something na new to me because wala kang magawa eh. 'Di ba? Andun ka, nakikinig ka, but wala kang mabibigay na tulong o resolution doon sa problem na sinishare sa iyo. 'Di ba? So I think that's something that in a way a trauma that I still feel until now.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, always think of the case of the desaparecidos in Argentina, and how for a long time there were a lot of people, especially middle class, upper class, people who were not affected, justifying, apologizing for the horrible, dirty wars na nangyari during the dictatorship in Argentina. We had versions of that in Paraguay, Chile, different countries, but in Argentina it was very interesting, right? Eventually, by the mid 1980s, 86 or something, there would be a trial. And once the people got to hear the story of people who were raped, tortured, and by some chance or sliver of luck, they were able to survive it, then slowly and slowly, or more than slowly, actually turned yung public opinion and provided some room for at least some transitional justice or a measure of at least acknowledgement of that. My biggest problem, Emil, is that I'm not sure people ever heard really truly the story of the victims, or at least at the scale that they should hear. I was talking to the mom of one of the victims, and she said recently, nung after ICC, syempre natuwa sila. So they felt empowered enough to come out and finally say their side of the story. Next thing you know, there are all these troll farms and horrible people. Ang demonyang tawag ko sa kanila, who come out and say, hindi, adik kasi yan eh. Deserve niya eh, di ba? Or, ikaw, nanay ka na adik, baka ikaw rin, adik ka. Yung ginagano talagang, imagine mo, you're already victimized, you're already traumatized, and then they also attack you for exposing the truth. Kaya ako, I was saying, alam mo, ito kailangan talaga ng whole of nation approach eh. The PNP, in fairness naman, I mean, of course, we don't want to, count our, ahead of time, but at least si Torre, General Torre, insight from canning, putting into can some of the other folks, but he went to the CHR saying boss namin ng Commission on Human Rights issue. Like, he's sending some good signals, but I think eventually there has to be some reckoning, diba? Institutionalized security sector reform reckoning. But the Philippine media and influencers and all, they have to step up too. Yung kwento ng mga biktima talaga, hindi narinig ng tao. Where I saw the best documentaries? NBC News. Like yung mga, Western news agencies have done better documentaries about the traumas, intergenerational traumas that you were describing, than, to be honest, the local news channels. Parang nasa news lang siya, pero yung proper, sustained exposition, expose, parang wala. And I was hoping to see that during Quadcom last year, pero parang nag-fizzle out eh. What do you think about that in terms of conscientizing the broader population and kind of a whole of nation reckoning with this tragic past?
Well, ang daming transitional justice models naman all over the world, no? As you mentioned nga, may Argentina. Of course, a very famous one is South Africa, di ba? Yung post-apartheid, that's another very, meron din sa
The
Rwanda.
reconciliation.
Yeah, but there's no one formula actually in doing transitional justice. So when you talk about transitional justice to sa mga viewers, this means on how you deal actually with the post genocide or post massive human rights
Mass
violation.
atrocities, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, how do you address the issue of number one, justice, okay? And of course you talk about, of course, reconciliation is one of them, but more importantly, yung merong memorialization, and ultimately yung how do you guarantee non-repetition, okay? So there's no one formula, walang canned formula on how do you approach a transitional justice system. But as you mentioned nga, yung presence ng strong troll farms, mga trolls, so strong social media presence ng Duterte camp, for example, is one of the challenges sa transitional justice mechanism natin. But yung punto dito, this will pose as a challenge to whoever is planning to do one. And this needs to be factored in doon sa whatever TJ na transitional justice mechanism na gagamitin natin. So, but I believe that these stories are very powerful, and the moment na may proper avenue or may proper way of retelling them in a very public way na wala kang escape, um, I think people will understand bakit mali yun at saka bakit dapat hindi na ulitin yun. I think most people are very, kumbaga, kumbaga, yung feeling nila is deserve nila yon precisely because hindi nila alam yung kwento. One of the most memorable stories actually is may isang mag-asawa. So, araw ng birthday niya, tapos a night before daw, hiningi niya sa asawa niya na kahit man lang daw may makain silang pansit sa birthday niya. And nangyari is kinaumagahan, um, ginising na lang siya ng mga kapitbahay niya saying na nabaril yung asawa niya ng riding in tandem. Tapos nung tumakbo siya, nakita niya yung asawa niya, duguan na dun sa labas, may bit-bit to na pansit. And she was crying in front of me, telling me na sinisisi niya yung sarili niya. Bakit daw hiningi niya pa yung pansit? Kung hindi daw sana hiningi niya yung pansit, dapat daw hindi namatay yung asawa niya. So she was crying there, na kinikwento, sinisisi yung sarili niya. But of course, I was telling her na hindi kasalanan mo, hindi mo kasalanan yan. It was someone else. So kumbaga, wag mo sisin. But yung stories like that, pag
But that's
mali,
also the I know this is very emotional, but napansin ko yun din yung coping mechanism. You rather blame yourself because you think the system is so cruel and unaccountable that there's no point even in blaming the government or trying to, di ba? Parang minsan coping mechanism, sisisin mo na lang sarili mo. Like this very tragic, wrenching story of the, basically, it just tells you that ang daming taong ganun. Basically, I mean, there are even communities saying, kasalanan natin kasi adik tayo or ganyan. Di ba? May ganun eh. You hear that they rather uh, direct it to at themselves knowing that wala silang maasahan sa sistema and they're scared that if they go for it there could be even more retribution and more people could die. I mean, it
yes.
was like doubly tragic in that sense.
That's why most transitional justice mechanisms actually including yung, of course, yung paniningil natin ng hustisya, usually nangyayari after makaalis na sa pwesto yung mga involved. So, logically, yun naman talaga ang nangyayari. And yun precisely na experience natin ngayon. And that's also the importance of why the ICC na forum actually is very important, because there are things na hindi mo pwedeng masingil sa local forum, considering nga yung clout, yung power, yung influence nila, which could easily um, create an impartial forum actually na para makuha natin yung hustisya na deserve ng mga biktima actually at saka yung mga pamilya nila. So I think this is a broader conversation about justice and human rights, but I think most people has yet to understand the importance of this and the importance of seeking justice for those families na affected nito. I'm telling you, ang sabi ko nga, I think you are correct that things will change the moment na umupo na yung most witnesses, most family members, lahat ng biktima doon, and people get to listen whether they like it or not. The moment marinig nila yung kwento na to, it will change their opinions of what happened during the drug war will drastically change overnight. I think I'm quite confident with that. At the end of the day, mga Pilipino, they're very emotional people, and stories like this, could change your positions, your political inclinations, even persuasions. These are very powerful stories, and I think very important na masabi natin to publicly.
Absolutely. Obviously, there's so much more we can discuss, but just to get through the gallery of rogues. So we talk about Duterte Youth, Duterte Old. Now naman pag-usapan na si Boy Kilay. What do you think about the whole impeachment drama? I mean, again, it's not your expertise. I mean, we'll have Justice Carpius soon also to discuss this back on the show. But from your understanding, this whole ping pong dribbling, whatever she's Escudero doing, are we facing a constitutional crisis, or this is just trapo politics, legalist mumbo jumbo? Because basically, sabi nga nila, kung may paraan, kung may gusto, may paraan. Kung takot, daming excuse, di ba? Daming dahilan. What is your read of it? Are we in a constitutional crisis situation? Are we heading towards that? Because that's the other accountability issue. The daughter, the
Well,
youngest.
unang-una, you have to understand that the impeachment process is not really a legal process, but it's really a political process. Yung design actually ng impeachment process natin is in a way, I would always say, as flawed, because kung ang expectation mo is magiging legal trial or trial ito or a legal process, then dapat hindi sa Senado ang trial natin, but dapat by design dapat nilagay natin sa Supreme Court and let the justices of the Supreme Court handle the trial kung yun talaga yung gusto natin. But unfortunately, the design of the Constitution is to give the Senate actually the ball na sila hawak ng trial. And of course, the problem with that is there's no guarantee na yung uupo doon nakakaintindi rin ng batas. Of course, ang assumption doon is nakakaintindi sila ng batas, but apparently the past few batches ng Senate, we realized that pakaunti ng pakaunti yung abogado. In fact, less and less legal minds are entering the Senate. So when the very people who are in the impeachment court are not even lawyers, who don't even understand the basics of how a trial should run, then you don't really expect much from what will happen in that court, because kumbaga yung extent ng pwede nilang maibigay is beyond their own personal capacity and understanding of the law. Then you cannot expect much from them. That's why I would always say that the impeachment provision actually in the Constitution is flawed. Now, if you ask me if I were to redesign the Constitution, then I would rather have the Supreme Court become the impeachment court.
Right.
Yeah, because doon you go by evidence, you
Yeah.
go by the
The
rules.
procedures are, I mean, sure, the idea of sui generis has been taken to its clownish logical conclusion. But
Yes,
sui generis doesn't mean you just do whatever you want. I mean, like,
yes.
Patorni style of
But
arguments.
that's the downside. When yun nga yung sabi ko nga, balik tayo dun sa situation na in the first place, hindi siya legal process, it's a political process. So kung political process yung pinag-uusapan natin, hindi legal na usapan yung hindi question of legality yung pinag-uusapan, hindi legality yung pinag-uusapan.
Pero hindi dapat at least may mga parameters. I mean, to be fair to Coco Pimentel, ang argument niya is, sui generis, pero meron tayong saligang batas, which gives us some idea about what forthwith means.
Yes, yes.
May
Of course.
Senate rules and precedents.
Yes,
Maybe
yes.
even the US jurisprudence could be a basis. So, kasi baka people will get a wrong idea that means just gawin mo kung anong gusto mo, number scale na lang to.
No, but I'm talking here about the practicality of the process. Now, of course,
The reality of it. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yan yung reality niya na, of course, looking at the composition of the Senate right now, how they acted, it's actually that very situation that we all don't like, is actually born of that flaw in the Constitution of allowing a political body to handle a legal trial. So when you do that, the persuasion is the driving force of the trial is no longer law, and procedure, but rather the driving force is political inclination, political leanings, and political persuasion. And yun yung nakikita natin ngayon. That's why for me, this is something which is not surprising at all because it's the politics in action actually, and that for me is the very flaw of the is a very flaw of the process.
Since we discussed Boy Kilay, I think we have to talk about also Harry Roque just to close this show. For some reason, I cannot say if Jesus Codera or Harry Roque are the most hated political figures in the country, but I don't want to insult Cheese kasi at least si Cheese Senate President, I don't know what Harry Roque's status is last time I checked. Na-reject na yung asylum niya. And I was absolutely sure about it because last March when I was in Hague, sabi nila sa akin was, there's no way he's going to be given asylum here for, among other things, because technically speaking, hindi siya dumiretso dito. He came in through Schengen visa from another Schengen country. So bakit siya nag-apply dito? So it's very easy for the Dutch authorities to deny him an asylum. Not to mention, pugante siya, di ba? On very serious crimes that the Europeans will take seriously. Is there, I mean, as I said, if I were to write a novel about Philippine politics a la Rizal, I mean, Harry Roque would be my archetype of, like what could go wrong with the enabler, parvenu, upwardly mobile, ambitious, opportunistic, no principle type of lawyer, successful professional. I mean, what is your read of him from a very moral or even aesthetic standpoint?
Um, well, of course, I think dumaan tayo dun sa part ng buhay natin that we used to admire Attorney Harry Roque, I think he was, of course, everyone who's doing human rights work would always cite him as their idol or their ganyan. But of course, as you say naman, kung paano mo ma-maintain yung kumbaga struggle naman ng bawat tao na with all the temptations of power, money, and everything, how do you actually stay, 'di ba, in line na 'di ba tuloy-tuloy ka lang na hindi ka nagsisway? I think yun naman challenge natin as human beings, 'di ba? So, yun yung problema ngayon is basically he played with fire, he danced with the 'di ba?
Dance with
Kumbaga,
the demon, devil. No, I mean,
kung saan
actually,
sasabihin ko kinumpleto. What yung punto ko is he played with fire, and of course kung nasusunog siya ngayon, it's a direct consequence of his choices. So of course I don't want naman to judge him on the basis of that, of my, kumbaga, yung sense of dapat anong ginawa niya sa buhay niya, that's his own life. But yung point ko din is that kung ano man ang nangyari sa kanya ngayon, those are all yung kumbaga,
consequences. Yeah,
compounding na
yeah.
consequences ng lahat ng ginawa niya, choices niya in the past 6, 7 years. Uh, lahat,
That's a charitable reading because some people I've talked to, I'm not including some of his former students, they would say na talagang meron siyang side na opportunista ever since. Kumbaga, the Duterte era just revealed what was there all along. Na basically sinasakyan lang niya yung mga human rights issues for publicity. I'll just be nice about it. You can connect. And that when he decided to be the spokesman for one of the most murderous democratically elected leaders in human history, that just showed the real, and basically that revealed who he was all along rather than him degrading himself by some wrong choices.
well, ako naman, hindi ko naman, I don't want to demonize naman yung pagiging opportunista, but kung ano yung opportunity na ginagrab mo is something else, diba? You could grab good opportunities and opportunities that make the country better. But if yung ginagrab mong opportunity is actually to further for example, at that time he was notwithstanding the fact that human rights lawyer siya, he was publicly defending extrajudicial killings. So kumbaga, he was just grabbing the wrong opportunities that came his way. And as I've mentioned nga, basically just reaping the consequences of his choices. And that's why in a way nasasayangan din ako because I know he's a brilliant guy. He's a very good lawyer at the time, but unfortunately medyo, kumbaga, ang term diyan is namali ng landas. And but ayun, Yun yung pinili niya. But what can we do right now, di ba?
He's not enjoying his life, right? Meron siyang tulips tourism, meron siyang supranational events. But anyways, like, okay, last na talaga to. Emil, it looks like mabait ka masyado. I'll just get someone else. We'll go back to this. I just want, kasi medyo heavy tayo today, I'll be honest. I just want people to absorb what's going on. Just last point. What's this whole artsy Parisian thing going on there? Your coping mechanism after being so traumatized by
Yeah.
everything, or is this about Filipino art or certain kind of indigenous art? I mean, I come from Cordilleras, Baguio, and also
Yeah.
those kinds of
So
arts are
very,
always
very familiar with
yeah, very, very appealing sa akin yung mga ganun, right? Like it's so me. And at the same time, if you go like to the Pacific Islands, you go to certain even indigenous group in Taiwan, etc. They have some similar things, or even Machu Picchu. They also have some similarity with us. Ako, I always felt Philippines sayang because we have that very unique island arts thing na hindi nakikita na yung Spanish Americanized side natin or whatever, trying hard westernized side natin. But in fact, we have so much authentic Filipino history. Whenever I go to a Peruvian restaurant, whether it's in San Francisco or Europe, I see yung parang Cordillera style, like this is, we have that. We have Wang Og, like, nasasayangan ako, like, from an artistic, aesthetic standpoint, like, where is this coming from, Emil?
Well, yung ako naman, I think again, most people know me as an election lawyer, but actually I'm frustrated artist ako. In fact, when before I once dreamt na maging painter ako, but unfortunately my parents forced me to take up law and I ended up as a lawyer. But although yun nga sinasabi ko parati sa mga tao um, na actually, tama din yung parents ko actually enforcing me to take up law because otherwise, sabi ko siguro kung pintor ako, I will not be as good as the auction stars right now. So basically,
Right.
paghirap at wala rin akong makain, 'di ba? So I think it was a
So,
good.
connoisseur ka.
Yeah, so in a way happy rin ako na napunta ako sa legal profession, but it did not mean actually that I abandoned my first love, which is the arts. So I'm still continuing with my interest. In fact, the way I explain nga yung bisyo ko, I would call it a bisyo or even a hobby. When it comes to art in antiquities, it's like actually my wardrobe, na kung gusto ko mag-escape, I just go into that little world of mine of beautiful things in art and I forget about everything else that's happening outside. And I get to do some sort of a pause na yung nadidefragment ka. So you can rewire yourself and come out of that wardrobe fresh and ready to fight again. So yun yung concept ko ng art. It's like a different world. And it's something that I've been doing for since I became a lawyer back in 2010. So when I was in Comelec, actually I spent 5 years in Comelec as the chief of staff ni Chairman Brillantes. Pinuno ko actually ng painting yung buong office of the chairman. And then at that time, I was already pag may extra na sweldo or something like that, I would buy paintings. And those paintings that I bought back in 2010, hindi ko na ma-afford actually ngayon. So, but then again,
Mayaman, may
no, but it continued and I'm very happy na I've been doing this. Kumbaga, if you've seen my social media pages, especially Twitter, I would constantly talk about arts as well because I know that um, uh, as you mentioned nga, napaka-rich ng art and history ng Pilipinas. And I hope to help, kumbaga na ma-promote ito and to, inculcate this to the consciousness of more people outside of my circle in the arts and history circle. But then again, this is the side that most people don't see, and I think at least nakikita nyo ngayon. So these are my house, and eto yung mga favorite things ko are here.
right. Thank you so much, Emil, for that really comprehensive. We started with Cardema, we ended with Conazur artistic discussion.
Hindi ako actually prepared, but I'm happy that we talked about it. There are, no, for example, I haven't talked about my EJK experience for the longest time. So in fact, it was
I'm sorry. I hope I was not too
no,
intrusive.
no, no,
I
hindi
didn't.
naman. In
Yeah.
fact, it's very important, very important naman to be reminded of the things that I stood before and still standing until now, yung mga bagay na
Yeah.
lalaban natin. So very important yun para hindi tayo maging katulad ni Attorney Harry Roque
Yeah.
na makalimutan.
Moral compass,
Oh, yun,
moral
exactly.
anchoring.
Correct, yun. But anyway, thank you for the opportunity and good to see you again.
Good
Okay.
to see you. Good to see you, my friend. And thank you for making Patol to this kind of a full range Renaissance man style. You know me. I always said I don't compete with anyone because I have my completely unique approach to doing things, and I hope people appreciated this wide ranging discussions. Maraming salamat, Emil. Hopefully, in the future we can bother you more on some of these issues.
Of course,
So
walang
kumbaga, we
problema.
just scratch the surface so people
Yeah, yeah,
know the
yeah.
breadth of your engagements, hindi lang intellectual curiosities and
Ah,
connoisseur. Thank you so much, Emil.
ay,
Talk to you
maraming
soon.
salamat. Thank you very much.
God
Magandang
bless. Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so